Welcome back to the Childhood Cancer Perspective, and thank you all once again for sticking with me through all of these episodes as I detail the journey of a father, a mother, and our siblings going through the diagnosis of their sister, our daughter, JC, of a rare form of brain cancer in January of 2020. Lately, I've been able to share also the stories of people that we've come in contact with and amazing organizations that we've met along the way. And so today is somebody that we met through the amazing app of TikTok, which we all love. And it's something that is, although you can love to hate it or hate to love it, whatever, it has allowed us to meet a lot of really cool people and a lot of really cool kids as well. So today I want to introduce Sam, and she is going to talk about her son Zeke, as well as an organization that they created after he was diagnosed with cancer. And subsequently, I think something pretty amazing happened not too long ago here. So I will turn it over to you, Sam, and the floor is yours.
Awesome. So yes, I'm Zeke's mom. He was diagnosed in April of 2022. Obviously, we did not expect this kind of diagnosis. But, we've been able to meet a lot of wonderful people and help other children also battling cancer, or even just other children in the hospital. So.
Yeah, it's a weird thing that you can, I guess, that so many good things can come out of something so horrible, a sense. I guess you have to find the silver lining in all of it. And so the silver lining for us is that we've been able to meet a lot of cool people. We've been able to travel and get even further immersed into the community and be able to share their stories. So talk a little bit about Zeke and his journey from the start to where we just saw a few days ago and where we are now.
Perfect. Yes. So like I said, in April of 2022, he had gotten a cold, and he took a little longer to have like the side effects of that go away. Probably like 2 weeks later, he started complaining of leg pain. I had called his pediatrician to, just get a feel for it, and the Tylenol worked. So I hung up, didn't really speak much to them about it. A few days later, he spent the whole night crying. Nothing was helping. Tylenol, Motrin, none of it. So I had called his pediatrician again. I explained to the nurse, like, he's screaming in pain and like the medicine isn't helping. There's no other symptoms at this time. And she assured me over and over again that it's just growing pains and that the medicine wouldn't necessarily help with the leg or with the growing pains. But basically just it's going to wear off eventually. Just let him go through the motions. So a few days later, he did develop a fever, but we had traveled from Pennsylvania that weekend while the leg pain was happening. So I kind of assumed he picked up a bug because we hadn't been going out because of COVID and everything. So I kind of just chopped them to being two separate things because she assured me it was leg pain. So why would I think leg pain and fever would mean anything? So that was probably Wednesday. On Friday, he stopped walking. Like 2 days later, he wasn't walking anymore. He wasn't eating. He wasn't drinking. So I called the doctor's office again, and they didn't have any sick appointments. So they told me that I needed to call Monday. So on Saturday. So I called the next day, got him in, and the doctor kind of just kept telling me she thinks it's Lyme disease, but I'm like, he hasn't been bit by a tick ever. Like, I've never seen a tick on him, but it could have happened, I suppose. So she sent us for an x-ray of his stomach and some blood work. So I brought him, we did that. It was the night before Easter, and I kind of just had this feeling that something wasn't going to be right. So when we got home, we had our supper. We decided to do the Easter egg hunt with the boys then because I wasn't sure if we'd be home the next morning. And as soon as we finished the Easter egg hunt, the pediatrician had called, and she's like, his liver's really enlarged, his spleen's enlarged, his blood work looks terrible. We need you to get him to the emergency room now. So we packed up everything. My sister, she lives right down the street. So she came over and watched Zeke's brothers because he has 3 other brothers. And then we left to the hospital, probably got there about 9:30. By midnight, they were telling us he most likely had leukemia. And so obviously Easter being that day at this point, they didn't really have staff to do a bone marrow biopsy or any sort of other tests related to testing for the leukemia. So we did meet with the oncologist Easter morning, but we didn't actually have his bone marrow biopsy until that Monday, where we would be confirmed that it was leukemia, and he'd start his fort placement and stuff that Wednesday. So within like 10 days, we went from leg pain to our child has leukemia. Throughout his treatment has been difficult, but what was a shock for us, even though like we already had the shock of, well, your child has cancer, 2 weeks later, we had more results come in that he didn't just have leukemia, he had a rare subtype of leukemia called Philadelphia chromosome positive. So it changed everything. Everything the oncology team had told us that he'd be going through in the treatment, that, mostly be outpatient, with maybe like a here and there inpatient treatment, it all switched. He had multiple cycles that would need to be inpatient because he'd receive high dose chemotherapy for a long amount of time that he would have to be watched over by the doctors during those specific infusions. So it was just, you don't think that like, oh, well, your child has cancer is shocking, but like, they tell you it's leukemia, it's the good kind. So like, oh, not congratulations, but like, oh, it's the good kind of cancer, yay. And then 2 weeks later, like, oh, actually, your child, the strongest treatment plan for leukemia isn't strong enough to even battle this. We need to completely flip the treatment plan and go to this high dose, strong chemo medicine to try to fight it. And it was a shock, but he did really well, honestly. They told us that like a lot of kids would have side effects from it. Zeke had very few, which was, a blessing. We were very happy he didn't suffer as much as other kids do. But then you also have the guilt because like you see other children going through it and they're suffering the whole time. And you look at your son who's also getting chemo and he's smiling or doing his odd little possum, whatever he wants to, like he's being Zeke. So I'm like, well, I feel bad, but it's like you can't always feel bad either. It's a hard place to be. So treatment actually did go very well. It did take him 6 months though to actually reach the remission. His cancer was really holding tight, and that's the problem with the Philadelphia chromosome, is it doesn't really allow the chemo to work as quickly as it should in other cases. But he did reach remission 6 months in, and maintenance was a breeze for him. We really didn't have any other issues. And as of May 8th, he rang the bell and we finished treatment. So
we're gonna focus on that last part. That
yeah.
is the most incredible thing to see. And we've seen several children go through this, that we've come across in this community. They get to ring that bell, and we try to be as many of those as we can, because that's awesome.
Yes.
We don't give these kids, I think the world doesn't give these kids enough credit for how incredibly strong they are, while still keeping a smile on their face and going through the worst times in their life. And as adults, what we get a paper cut, and that's the end of it, right? Or we get the man flu. Exactly. It's a real thing. And we're just laid up for days and days. We have to call into work and all this stuff, and these kids just go through it with a smile, or they make the best of it. Yes. And if it's incredible. So but I wanted to, that's just the second time now it's come up this week. Actually, the last interview that I did came up the same thing, that the 3 words being told to somebody with leukemia, oh, it's the good cancer, right? And I still am trying to figure out what the hell that means, because it's
what I saw was not
good. I don't get it, and I never understood. I don't understand the ignorance. The ignorance comes out in a lot of people, and I don't know that it's really like meant to be a mean thing. I just think it's something that it's ingrained in you to hear that leukemia is so prevalent, right? So maybe that's why they think we understand it more. But it's just like every other type of cancer within children. There's 27 different variants that make it different, and a child's genetics make it different on how they're treated. Even if they have the same exact variant of that type of cancer, they're treated based on their genetics, their age, their, all of that kind of stuff. So I don't understand why we continue to have that type of ignorance.
Me neither. And so obviously we took some time before we announced to other people, other than our family. that Zeke had cancer. But like once it started spreading, other people were saying it to us. So like the worst part was the doctor was the first one to have actually said that to us. Well, at least, it's the good kind. But then like you have other people coming up and telling it to you as well. But my thing was like, they just don't know what to say to us. I think that's what it is. They don't know what to say to us. You tell them your child has cancer and then they look at you shocked. There's two ways they can go. They can, go that way, or like the worst case is, I don't know how many times Craig and I both have had conversations with people about our son having cancer, and they're like, well, my so-and-so had cancer and they died, or this person had cancer and they died. Like, why are you telling a parent of a child that, this person had cancer, and like that's not what we want to hear. Like, oh, I understand slightly what you're going through because this person had cancer or that person had cancer. We don't need that, especially when you're fresh to it. Like, we're already thinking the worst. Like, and
Right.
I don't, yeah.
Yeah.
It's,
No. No, it's absolutely. And I think when it comes down to it, so there's two parts of that. One is that everybody needs to understand at some point that pediatric and adult cancers, even the same diagnosis, is different. Okay, it affects the children, affects adults. Treatments are different. It's 100%. And number two, unless you are in the community of pediatric cancer and you truly understand it, then telling us as, well, you know what, I understand how you feel. My grandfather had cancer. No, you don't really understand how we feel. You don't understand what we're going through, because as a parent, our one job is to protect our children. And this is the one thing we cannot protect. We can't fix. We can't stop from happening. So your comparison of, well, you know what, I understand because, so-and-so in my family had cancer, or this person, or I mean, for God's sakes, don't tell us that they passed away from it. Like, it's really not what we need to hear at that moment. Just, if you don't know what to say, then say simply, this sucks, or I'm here for you if you need to talk, if you need me to get you groceries or clean your house, things like that we take for granted every day. Offer that. If you don't know what to say to us, just offer those things, because we do take those things for granted. And a lot of people don't want to ask for help because it's hard to ask for help. No matter what stage of this you're in, it's you don't want to feel like a burden.
No, not at all. And it makes a already uncomfortable conversation even more uncomfortable when you have to, like, especially at the beginning, when you bring it up. You don't want to discuss death when your child just barely got diagnosed. You don't know how it's going to turn out. Like, I was just a wreck the whole time. Like, I don't know what's going to happen. And nobody talks about childhood cancer in a way to like help with the feelings of it. Like, you don't know it, but like you don't really know it. Like, oh, well, I know this person had a child that had cancer, but like you don't really dig in until it's your child and you're like, oh crap. Like, we need to make sure people are, hearing these stories and helping, because otherwise they don't really care. And it sounds terrible to say that, because like they'll think about it for a second and it'll pass their mind like, oh, that really sucks. But like, are they thinking about it tomorrow? Because we are. Are they thinking about it next week? Because we are. It's, yeah. It's like I had an issue with it.
That's 100% on point, though, that we as parents, we don't get to shut this off at the end of the day. We don't get to change the channel, or if you have bad nurses that come into your room, which we've had in bad experiences, we don't get to clock out at the end of the day. We're living with this every single day. And so for anybody to treat it as though it's an inconvenience to them, but at the same time, people don't listen unless it affects them. Like, I think we're all in nature, we feel that way, that if it doesn't affect us, we don't give it a lot of thought. But children are at the core of everything. Every single thing that this world is built on is at the core of it is children. And without these children growing up to be these little entrepreneurs and become doctors and become teachers and whatever they decide to do, we have no future. And that is why we need to work harder to protect them. And that's why, we create organizations. That's why we do, social media, or we create podcasts, whatever, anything we can do to get the message out there and get that one extra person to listen that's going to spread it to the next one, and realize you may not be able to 100% understand what we feel, but you can definitely find a way to help us to make other people
Yes.
understand.
Yes. Yeah. There needs to be more conversations on how you approach families who have children with cancer, because, awkward conversations can become even more awkward just by using different words. I don't, it's hard. Especially like, I didn't love hearing either, like, well, once this is all done, you can get back to your life like the way it was. Like, everything goes back to normal. There's no normal after, like, you can't go back to normal because we're here now. Like, those thoughts don't go away. Like, every time your child gets sick, Zeke actually, while we're on vacation celebrating his bell and his end of treatment, he developed a bump on his arm. Clearly, my mind goes to, he has a tumor now. Of course, we finished treatment and now he has something else going on. So when we flew back, we got off the airplane in Boston. I was already on the phone with the pediatrician. I'm like, he has a bump. I need to bring him in right now. He needs to be seen. We brought him in. Next day, he was seeing a surgeon and he's on antibiotics now. We think it might just be an infection. But, like, still, like, you can't go back to just thinking your child's sick anymore after this. Even his brothers, like, if they get sick, I'm like, well, okay, could it be a genetic thing now? Could it have jumped to them? Could something have caused it to happen to them now? There's no going back to a normal life. We can try to ignore those thoughts, but they're always going to be there in the back of your mind thinking about it.
Yeah, no, it's right on point, because there's no, the normal that we know now is not the normal we knew the day before, the hours before the diagnosis. And so now going forward, even, a child in remission, a child that's 5 years cancer free, whatever you want to call it, a bump is not a bump, a bruise is not a bruise, a cough is not a cough. It is all, and my wife is the same way. And I don't know if I don't think that way, or if I put a wall up and I don't allow it to affect me that way, because I just, in my life, in my mind, I think there's just no damn way that it could happen again. There's no way in the world this could happen again. So in my mind, I put up a wall. But if our kids get sick, if they get a headache, yeah, she's right to it, and I'm like, you've got to stop. You've got to
It's so
don't,
hard.
and I believe me, I know, and but it's like, you can't run to that. You've got to. In my mind, I'm thinking, God, what in the world would I do if something like this were to happen again? But at the same time, I feel like, yeah, I don't know. Like, I don't know how to put it into words, but definitely I try not to believe that. My wife, yes, she will go right to that, think, oh my God, she'll give me that look, the same look that I got from her the night JC woke up and we went in and they found out she relapsed. That same look on her face, that I'm looking at her and saying, no, don't, absolutely do not think like that. We've had all these months, everything's been fine, don't do it. But there's something in the voice telling you in the back of your head. And that's what people don't understand. They see, and the same thing, they see the bell ringing, or they see the hair grow back, they see the kid going back to school, whatever. Oh, they must be fine. And that leads me to the next point, which is then the support seems to just disappear, right? People,
Yes.
even the ones that you trusted or figured would be there, your ride or die, a lot of them just disappear because they assume, well, the fight's over, or as my wife would call it, the circus show's over. So there's nothing else to watch anymore.
Yes, and we had that kind of experience when we announced Zeke was in remission now. Like, we finally have no leukemia in his bone marrow anymore. I had family members message me like, "Oh, so he doesn't need treatment anymore. Like, treatment's done now." Like, people don't actually know how treatment goes, like, because every treatment is different too. But just because a person reaches remission also doesn't mean that they've finished their treatment. Like, he still had another year and a half to go before he was finished. So yeah, but that thought, like, every time something happens, I'm like, oh gosh, if it's that, I'm gonna I'm like your wife in that aspect, because I can't.
Yeah.
But my husband is like you. He'll be like, no, no,
Mm-hmm. I think
don't
it's
think
just,
that way.
and I don't know if it's, and like I said, I don't know if it's us not believing the same things you're believing, or if it's just us in that putting up that wall and saying we're putting a stop to this now. Like, we're stopping the world. It's not happening. We're not going to
Yes.
allow it to happen again. And I think it's just that inherent fight, or that fight that we have in us. It's saying, you got us once, but you're not going to get us again. And I think that's just where we are. And that's it's an unfortunate, I hate to use this term, but it comes up all the time as an unfortunate side effect of all of this is
Yes.
that you're always on edge. You're always wondering the worst, and it's even though the best things are happening, you're always wondering the worst. You're always in the back of your mind thinking, oh my God, I hope everything's okay. And we're going to get to this point, to this point, to this milestone. But it's a tough road, and listen, I am so excited to have been able to meet you guys and to meet Zeke and to meet, he's a man of few words if you ever meet him, guys. I'm telling you, he doesn't say much. And he has the greatest hair on the planet. So we're gonna put that out there.
Wilder and wilder every day.
It's unbelievable. It's incredible. But it's you meet these kids and you meet these families, and it will change your life. And even if you're not part of this community, if you don't support, and by that I mean you don't donate or you don't go to events or whatever, but you're not directly supporting. If you meet these kids, they're not going to change your mind on essentially maybe joining any organization and becoming a board member, but what they're going to do is give you a perspective on life that is just something you can't learn. You can't purchase this perspective. These kids are incredible. And I don't know how much else or how many more words I can put to say what they do to you and what the purpose that they give you and the mission that they give you. And so with that being said, the mission being said out there is that you guys also started an organization because of all of this and have started sending some things out, which I saw as well. So tell us about that, the purpose behind it and what your mission is and what you guys do.
So it all started during one of Zeke's hospital stays. It was around Christmas time, and we had spent so much time at that point. Like, we were in the 100th-ish night of being in the hospital. And we know that the child life is so important to these children. I mean, his hospital floor wasn't specifically to all oncology kids. So we had other kids, around the floor. But they made Zeke stay there so much more manageable. They were so sweet to him, projects, this and that. And because of COVID, they had stopped receiving donations. And so like their supply was running low and they could only buy with what money was donated to them. So Zeke and I were talking and we're like, we should do a toy drive for them and try to get as many items as we can for them so that they can help other children who are staying there have at least like slime. Zeke is obsessed with slime. So we made so much slime there. So we're like, we need to get some slime kits for the children's floor. So we ended up starting with our toy drive, and that's the first time we had ever done anything like this. And we were able to donate over 500 items to them that first year. And I was like, this is awesome. And then a few months later, Zeke was in the hospital again for an illness, not actually for chemo. And it was around Easter. And I was like, we're getting close to your anniversary, which the first year anniversary was hard for me. I needed something to like distract my mind from the thought of coming up to like, it was a year ago. So Zeke was like, we should do bags for other kids fighting cancer too. I was like, love it. Let's do it. So we raised money and we were able to send 25 packages that first Easter, which then kind of started a annual thing. So we did the Easter baskets, and then in the fall actually raised money for two great nonprofits, and we were shocked. We raised over $5,000, and half of that went to Battlecorn Care Packages, which we were so excited to get you guys that check at CureFest. But so just like all the little things started adding up, and we're like, we're doing this already, and it's already hard to get support when you're not physically a nonprofit because people don't know, like, I think it makes them feel safer when you have the documentation that, you're doing this, you are somewhat, being tracked by the government with whatever you're going in and out. You have to keep track of things. So after we're at CureFest, Craig and I were talking on the way home. We were driving, had like an 8-hour drive. And I was like, we need to do it. We need to just bite the bullet, start the paperwork, and get this nonprofit going. And so we came up with Forever in a Moment for two different meanings for us. First was when Zeke was diagnosed, our lives were changed forever in a moment. Like it's never going to go back to what it was. It's always going to be changed. And then also I felt really strongly about getting the hand casting kits into families' hands who have children battling cancer, because not every child does make it to the end. And I want their family to have something that they could have done together if their child doesn't make it, that, the hand. I want them to have their child's hand forever. So that was my thing. They're forever in a moment going to have their child's hands, regardless of the outcome. Even if their child makes it to the end like ours did at this point, and we have his hand, like that's something we can hold on to and memorize. But then also for the families who don't have their child at the end, we want them to have something of their child that they can still hold on to. So that was like because I have like some guilt for, I feel terrible that parents don't have their child at the end. So, I was trying to give something to them because it touched me how, like, I don't know. I'm losing my words because I'm getting emotional. I saw the parents get up on stage at CureFest saying their child's name, and it broke me. So I needed to give other parents their child's hands. And that's kind of where it came from.
Well, it is an incredible and beautiful gesture that you are doing. This was not done through the treatment. It was done at some other time when the girls were a project or something. But we do have a casting of JC's hand that is that's actually in another room of the house. I'm going to put it in here though because I think it needs to be in here. But we have that, and it is truly an incredible thing. And because you're right, not just the community loses way too many kids, and we're left with just our memories. We're left with things that they left behind, but we're not left with them anymore. We don't have that ability to hold their hand anymore. And that was towards, I don't know what it was with her, but the last year when she was around when she was feeling good, when they thought she was in remission and everything. If you were out and about, or if you were going outside or whatever, she was holding your hand all the time. JC was doing that. And it's like, and her biggest thing was thumbs up. When you ask her, are you okay? And she'd give you a thumbs up. And so that was our biggest thing. And so that is an incredible gesture to be able to give to people to, it's not necessarily saying because they're not going to be around. It's a memory to have. It's a good memory to have no matter what. And I love it. And I want, what is the website?
foreverinAmoment.com or .org.
Okay.
They'll both go to the same website.
Perfect. Okay. So if anybody is looking to, help out, you can go there and check them out and share the pages out as well as donate. I know they're also on Facebook. And you can go there and you can see exactly what they're doing and you can help them out, because organizations, like ours, we're not massive, but I think we make big impacts in our own way. And that's our way of giving back to a community and giving back to the children and child life, which I could do an entire episode on them. They're unsung heroes in this battle. But it's a way to give back to anything you give back to us or to them. It goes back into the organization and it continues to allow us to push things out to these families and kids. But I want to touch on something that has come up twice now, and it's something that I've heard in the past, and it's something that has been brought up to me, and I've made multiple videos on this and stuff like that, and that's guilt.
Yes.
There is a real and true thing called survivor's guilt, and it's you are elated at the fact that whether you are the patient or whether you are the family, the parent, whatever, you are elated at the fact that you have survived this, you have beat this monster. But unfortunately, so many of these kids are losing their friends. They're watching their friends pass away. They're watching people that they watch on social media that are passing away, that aren't making it. And the question comes up at these young ages is why? Why me? Why them? Why did it happen this way? And it's a real thing. And it breaks my heart because we lost JC and we don't have her here anymore with us. But it doesn't take away from the fact that there are other children that have made it. And there's no we can come up with biblical reasons. We can come up with, Hallmark reasons for why one made it and one didn't. But the reason is we just don't know. We don't understand why. Maybe one day we will, but right now we don't. But it breaks my heart to have anybody feel guilty at all. When I think you should just be celebrating and just be smiling and just be happy and just continue to do what you're doing. I know it's not going to change the way you feel, but I just don't like to hear it, because I feel like it gives me guilt that somebody else feels guilty that that our daughter did not win. But in the sense, we always look at, she did. She
Yes,
won. She beat
absolutely.
this. And there was another plan for her. And we were told, that she was only on loan to us and as an angel. And we look at it like that. I think there's no greater place in the world for your child than right next to you. But and we will never come to terms with this, and we will never accept it, and we will never move on with life. We will only move forward. But the guilt, it just breaks my heart. And I don't want you to feel like that. And I don't want Zeke to feel like that. And I don't want any of these kids to ever feel like essentially like they've done something wrong for still being here when their friends are not.
It is. It's hard to I don't know if come to terms with, but we try not to think about it too much. But when, you see one of your friends isn't doing very good, or your friend's child's not doing good, it hurts your heart, because you begin to love these children like they're your own. And I think that's part of the issue too. Like these kids are fighting, and how they're fighting. Like you've seen it with your own eyes. And then when, they relapse, or it gets so bad that they pass away within weeks, days after finding out about the relapse, it's hard, because you look at your own child and you know just how fragile it is. And I think at least that's for me. It's just, you never know. And I try very hard to just trust in God, and, he knows what he's doing, and we just let it be what it is. But, guilt is hard for me,
Yeah.
obviously. But yeah, I'm sorry. I don't
No,
want to make you feel guilty either. So now I'll have that to think about, though. So try to counteract my guilt with I don't want you guys to feel guilty, because you did lose your child. So that makes a lot of sense, that it could be returned in that same aspect, which is
right.
already sad in itself.
And like I said, it's a tough thing to really grasp, and I don't want to really change how people feel. I mean, you're going to feel how you feel, and that is what it is. But I think it also, unfortunately, from what we've noticed, is it stops a lot of people from sharing the successes that you're going through, or being excited or proud at the bell ringings, at the celebrations, the parades, and sharing your stories. Because, and I've had this, in the past, where people would, share the stories on TikTok a few years ago, and they would not tag me specifically because they didn't want me to see it. And it's like, I want to see it. I want to see those successes, because in my eyes, there is somebody that I have in heaven that is guiding a lot of this to happen, that is saying, you're staying, you're staying, you're staying. I'm up here. I'm going to protect you. Keep going. Like, that's, for me, we're always looking at it like that. We see signs all the time, and we believe heavily in the fact that she's always around us, and that things that have happened in our life are because of her. And signs that we've heard literally, and seen in this house, are that she's still here. And so I do want to hear the success stories. We get excited when we hear these success stories. We get excited when people come in and tell us about, oh, the scans were great. Everything is fantastic. They just had great scans for Jesse, and they came in and told us that, and Tasha did. And that's fantastic. We love to see that. Obviously, Robin is having a tough time right now, but when they having a good day and she's eating and smiling and painting, we're celebrating that, because that's the good times we need to celebrate and be happy about. So, the only, honestly, going through all of this, and even people that have not lost their child, there are a lot of triggers that will happen that can set things off. And for me, I can't do it. If I'm on the phone with you and I hear, the beeping of the machines and stuff, I cannot. I will hang up the phone. I will leave. I can't do it. Like, that just it gets into me internally and I can't listen to it. So the triggers are one thing that you have to learn how to manage. At this point, I can't tell you that it gets any better, because I feel like, these things are always there, smells or sounds, obviously pictures or video, that kind of stuff. But yeah, but that is one thing for me that I've heard a couple times, and I've been on a group call when they were, and I had to leave because I couldn't do it.
Well, we listened to it so much too. Like I slept nights hearing, that 106 nights, just beep beep. Like I totally get it for sure. I I haven't heard it since he's been out of the hospital, so I don't know if it might do the same thing. But Zeke definitely has triggers. As soon as we walk through that hospital door, he shuts down. Like I know he doesn't talk very much, but that's how really the possum was born. Like he doesn't like the feeling of what had happened to him. So him pretending to be a possum when the doctors would come in and check his pulse and, do the listening to his breathing, and like that was his safe zone. And I thought like at first that it was just like a joke, he was doing it to be funny. But then like after being in the hospital for so much, I realized that that was his coping mechanism for the trigger of being in the hospital again, because we'd only go home for a couple days and then be right back in there starting him up with chemo. So even now though, like he doesn't have to go to the same floor for his clinic, but we're still going into the same hospital. So as soon as we walk through the hospital doors, he's like clammed up, doesn't say anything to any of the nurses that we've had for the last 2 years, that he's very well, he knows them very well. The doctors, like he doesn't say really anything to them. And that's a trigger for him in the hospital. So it's hard to like, how do you stop him from having that trigger when I have to bring him there monthly? Like, it's just, triggers are hard. Triggers are hard. Just you could be, or for me, like I was organizing the cabinets and I just had like a thought like, oh, remember that time like he was so sick he didn't get out of bed or talk? And then I'm like, why did I even have that thought? Like he's been out of the hospital for months. Like why did that pop up? And I don't know if it's just like I was in my deep like no thinking thought and it just popped up because it's still back there. But yeah, triggers. I would think talking about Zeke's stuff would make me more triggered, like the whole thing. And like if I go into detail, it definitely triggers the memories. And so I try to keep it as vague as possible, because if I really think about what I experienced with him all those days, it can put you in a dark place. Like we did share at the beginning a lot of stuff on social media, but like even those dark videos don't touch what I physically saw with my own eyes. And it's just hard as a parent to see your child like that. And yeah, it definitely can trigger a lot of weird things afterwards as well.
Yeah, no, it
Yeah.
yeah, no, it definitely does. And so on that, I will say that to the world, we as parents, especially in this realm, allow you to see what we want you to see, period.
Yes.
If we want you to see more of it, then we will. If we want you to see less and nothing, and you'll just assume that everything is sunshine and rainbows, then that's what you're going to see. There is so much more depth into this world, which is kind of what, my, getting into the podcast side of it and things like that was because I was able to share more, and get out there and give a perspective from a parent side that not a lot of people see. And so there's a lot. There's a lot of dark things. There's a lot of, imagery. Seriously, there's some things that I haven't even shared with my wife or kids, things like that I saw when I was in the hospital with her. Things that I don't really know what to do with in my brain. I don't know how to categorize it. I don't know how to really deal with it. And when it comes down to it, the world sees, and I'm going to bring it up every episode until something changes, but the world sees a very famous commercial and they see nothing but smiling kids.
Drives me crazy.
Yes. And this year, or maybe it was the end of last year, was the very first time I ever saw that commercial pan out another few years and say this child unfortunately passed away. They don't talk about that stuff. It's all, everything's free, everything is wonderful. But yeah, that's great. But to be honest with you, when we're going through this as parents, as families, and yes, it is a strain, I could give a shit about the money. Okay. That's not important. We're going to find a way to make it happen. And that kind of stuff, I don't care about. We care about our kids being taken care of the right way. We care about them coming out of that hospital, walking out with us. We have to every single day look at our daughter on a shelf. Okay. She's not with us personally, physically anymore. She's on a shelf. She's in memories. I wear her around my neck. Like that's the reality of this world. That is that the survival rate may be high. The reoccurrence rate is also high, and the side effects are bad. And listen, I understand that we can't show that type of stuff and expect people to donate to you. But at the same time, I really feel like it's just shady marketing, and I don't like it because it portrays it. I think it does damage to our community, honestly.
I totally agree.
So I think it puts it in a light. Well, they've got it under control. They've got everything figured out, and everybody's, surviving and smiling and happy. So why focus anymore on it? So yeah, I think it does detriment to us, and it's a shame because the reality of what we've seen, and what so many parents have seen, I think is what really needs to be shown. And it's reality TV that nobody wants to be on, but it's the truth behind all of this. And I wish that was what they showed every day. You put a disclaimer on the TV then if you have to, and say this commercial is going to be graphic, and it's going to show the truth and reality of these types of things. We do it for war, right? They show all that stuff.
Exactly. Or even the pets, I forget that sad song, and then they show you all the really malnourished dogs. Like, why aren't we showing more of the children and how the cancer treatment actually goes? Because that's the thing too. Like, if you're not here and you don't see it, you have no idea how terrible it actually is. You see the commercial, like you've mentioned, and in the commercial they look happy. You don't see their brother rubbing their back while they're puking because the chemo is so terrible and the nausea pill isn't cutting it. Like, you don't see your 4-year-old doing that to their 6-year or 7-year-old brother. Like that kind of stuff is hard to watch for us, but we need more people to see that. So that way there's more funding for our children, because the federal government is giving how much? 4% if we're lucky towards them. And how many different childhood cancers are there? Like, you think, well, 4% out of what, a billion or something is a couple million or whatever, 100 million, whatever it is. That's not enough, because only the real touched chemos are really seeing most of that money. Like, JC's was very rare. How much money actually went from the federal government to finding something to help JC's type of cancer, and how much is now? The funding needs to be better. It 100% does. These kids deserve more than 4%. And I will say that until I turn blue in the face, because they absolutely deserve more. Because if we had more treatment plans for them, there'd be more children living and less passing, which is just really what it is. And it makes me very angry when people are like, well, they're getting money. Like, no, are they? You say that, but are they getting money? Like, how much are they getting? Because, an adult, like my grandparents, 3 out of 4 grandparents have passed away from cancer. So I know cancer well enough to know that they've lived their whole lives. Like, granted, my grandmother died at 50, lung cancer, but she still lived 50 years. How much life did my 6-year-old have? My grandfather was in his 80s. My other grandfather in his 70s. Like, adults live. They have their life. They had children. They've seen things. Why are they getting so much of the money? We need to renegotiate the amount of money going to our children, because our children are the future. And if they're all dying from cancer, or a good majority are, who's going to be the next president? Like, who's going to be, president can't, I don't want to go there. But what I'm saying, who, if all the children are getting sick and no one's caring, who is going to run the future of our nation? Because where are the children going to be? It's just makes me angry. Yeah.
No, that's real and true emotion and anger that we feel every single day. And it's simply because we're essentially cast aside. Like you get enough, you get enough, or this organization gets enough, and they're doing all of this research. That's wonderful. But when you look at it saying, oh, the private organizations are the ones that are doing the research, or the private organizations are the ones that are coming up with these cures or whatever, and your own federal government is giving us, it's like 250 million. It's horrible. Like, that money was raised in one night at the Met Gala. Fuck the Met Gala.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Okay. But
I agree. I agree.
screw these celebrities and their holier than now attitudes, and they can spend $75,000 to eat a plate of sea bass, whatever. Okay. These kids are literally struggling every single day. And when you see celebrities, that have their children going through it, I promise you that they're getting the best treatment on the planet. And I promise you that whatever they want is being done. But we're out here struggling, trying to make it happen, trying to raise money we are raising money for the research. That's not what we should be doing as parents, as advocates. We should be advocating for you to just give us the damn money, because you're sitting on it. And without these kids, you'll have nobody to vote you in. You'll have nobody to continue to take care of you in your old age when you're still making your government pension for the rest of your life. You're not going to have anybody to do that. These kids are the future. These kids are the next politicians and doctors and scientists and all of this. JC was going to be a nurse. That was her whole, a NICU nurse. That was going to be her goal. That's what she wanted to do. How many of these kids out there were going to take that path, or we're going to be pilots, or we're going to be judges, whatever.
Yeah.
There's so much lost potential and lost years of life every single year, every single day, because these kids are passing away, and even if they're not passing away, they are struggling through these treatments. And when you look at what these treatments do to them, and what they do to their bodies, and how they change them, not their personalities, not who they are as a person, but they change their bodies and they put them through hell. And we are also constantly told, well, they're kids, they're young, they'll bounce back. They'll bounce back.
That statement there.
That's a good one, right?
Crazy. They'll bounce back. Okay.
They'll bounce right back. They're young. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. Okay. Then you tell me why it looks like day after tomorrow, when the nurse comes in to administer chemo, and they've got to have 2 or 3 layers of PPE on. They can't touch it. It's got to go in a special bag, in a special biohazard bag when it's done. Mm-hmm. All the wires, all the hoses, all of that stuff has to be thrown out. And also, and I talk about this all the time, JC, when she had her high dose chemo, had thiotepa. Now, thiotepa is the only chemo drug that excretes through your pores. So you have to bathe every couple of hours to ensure that it does not burn your skin. So what in the hell is it doing to the inside of their body? And also, when these kids are young, we have to help them when they're going through this, go to the bathroom and all that stuff. Don't get it on you guys as parents. Don't get it on you, because it'll burn you, or it'll affect you. And who cares? What is it doing to the inside of them? If you're telling me it's going to burn my skin and all that, and going to give me a rash, I don't care about any of that. Like, that right there, those statements should almost just enact change in itself.
Exactly. Yeah. When they told me when I was cutting up Zeke's pills, because he didn't like the liquid stuff, it just make him sick. So we did a lot of pills. So they're like, oh, be very careful. You should almost wear a mask when you cut those pills, gloves, be very careful, because you don't want that, you don't want to breathe it in. I'm like, he's 6. You want me to cut this up carefully, but then put it into his mouth and make sure I wash my hands even with a glove on, when it's so should I not kiss my child anymore? Because now that's in their mouth. If he gives me a kiss, is it on my face now? It's just crazy. It's crazy what they go through. He didn't have anything with the having to wash because of the chemo, but he had the eye drops, which drove him crazy every 6 hours, even while he was asleep. So I could only imagine having to wake your child up and give him a bath. How annoying. And JC was probably tired at that point, going through it. And now you're like, all right, let's go. We have to put you in the bath. That's its own terrible thing in itself.
Yeah, it was not to hear that side effect. I remember hearing that side effect and thinking, wow, that's an incredible thing this is what that drug is so necessary. and this is what we have to do in order to basically clean you out or to fix everything that's going on. We essentially have to, it's like flushing. I mean, essentially is high dose is meant to flush you of completely everything down to zero. So, I mean, you're basically locked in a box, and, any kind of infection or anything comes in there, you're in deep trouble. But that one side effect out of that was I don't know. That's incredible. I mean, everything, she lost her hair and she was losing her hearing, and they told her she'll never have kids. And, she was on the pills for, kidney and liver, function, and they check your heart and your lungs before you go through all, like, we want to make sure you're healthy enough to go through this chemo that is going to make you very unhealthy and hopefully make you healthy again. And I remember they put her in the glass box thing to do the lung test where you have to blow, and she couldn't do it because it was just too much. But I mean, eventually they cleared her to the point where she was safe enough. But it's like, he'd be like, blow, 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 and she'd be like, give up. And it's like, I don't know. It's like, it's just, that kind of stuff, and me looking at, okay, are you healthy enough to go through this treatment? Are you healthy enough to take on what we're about to do to you? And I never truly understood high dose or stem cell transplants. And I think we asked one of Robin's nurses one time, and we didn't really get a really good answer about if high dose and stem cells are meant to basically start your body over, then why don't we start with that?
Yes.
I
Right
don't,
after that, right?
yeah, I don't understand, like, why not? Because it's meant to, and they harvest your cells, but they're harvesting your cells after you've gone through chemo, after you've been diagnosed. And so I guess I don't understand the science of it. I mean, can they just remove the cancer from the cells that they're putting back into your body? I don't 100% get it, but that's always
It is confusing.
I've always kind of questioned it. Like, okay, well, this is the last step. We're going to do this. We're going to clean it out, start you all over. When she went through it, she bounced back very well. Like, her counts went up really well, and, we were able to leave quicker than we thought we could. But it essentially, from what I could understand, broke it loose and allowed the cells to then travel through her body that ended up showing cancer cells in her spinal fluid, which had never shown until after the stem cells. So there's the science behind all of this, I guess. I don't know what it is.
Me neither.
But yeah, it's crazy. I love the fact that we've met so many incredible people. I love the fact that we've made so many important connections, and we're able to watch, these kids grow up and smile and have fun, and we're able to go on, lives and have fun with everybody and meet them in person. I love that. I really do. But at the same time, I wish we did not know each other on these types of circumstances, because this is not, I don't want to be in like the childhood cancer community. Nobody wants to be part of it. Nobody wants to be in this family. Nobody wants to be in this group. But now, being part of it, I think all of us I would go to the ends of the earth for everybody and do what we can to, make some type of positive change in the world, because we need it, and these kids deserve it. And they deserve to be able to grow up and make all the stupid mistakes that we've made as adults, and even more so.
Yes.
They deserve all that. So, but yeah, that's where we are.
Yeah. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. They deserve to be here and causing mayhem, even if, teenage years, parents don't love it, but these children definitely deserve to have that opportunity. And it's just a matter of getting other people to agree with us that we need more funding for them. We need more companies producing chemotherapy specific to children, because the adult chemo shouldn't really probably be going through a child, right? Like, that's how little research is really being done. If they're just like, oh, well, it worked for the adults, let's give it to the child too. Like, that's so half-assed, in my opinion. Like, let's do a little more testing, maybe make their own, like, hey, it's just crazy. It's crazy that everybody wants to focus on the adults that lived their life already, honestly.
Right. No, I think it's just easy, right? I think it's just easier for them to say, okay, well, we can create this. We know it's going to work. And, it costs a lot of money. to test these drugs in childhood instances of their types of cancer. And therefore, pharmaceutical companies do not want to pay it. Now, I know that there's been, which I think is dumb. I don't think we should have to pass legislation to get more funding. I don't think we should have to pass legislation to force pharmaceutical companies to do the work and to do what will be best for the world and not for their pockets. But unfortunately, we do. We have to pass legislation for that. And that was something that, we heard about, I think last year, that they were going to pass legislation that says that if you create it, you've got to try it. And if you don't try it, then we're not going to approve it through the FDA. So what'll happen is the way that the pharmaceutical companies get away from that is they just put it on the shelf and say, okay, well, we're just going to shelf this drug. We're not going to try it anywhere because we're not going to pay. So in a fantastic segue there, our benefactor this year for the gala is OncoHeroes Biosciences, which is taking those shelved drugs and is buying the rights to them essentially, and then testing them in the childhood cancer community in the instances that they work, because the pharmaceutical companies will not do it. And that is something that is a process. It takes a while for them to get, the approvals and stuff, but they're doing the work. They only focus on pediatric cancer drugs. That's all they do, which is amazing. So
Absolutely.
that's a step in the right direction to have that type of commitment to a community that we are just left behind. And it drives me up the wall. It drives me up the wall that it's so hard to get anybody in DC, anybody in our capitals to actually listen. You get very few that will be on your side, very few that will take the time and effort to actually do that. And then we see ridiculous things passing in different states. I should just leave it alone, but different things that are passing in different states. And I'm wondering, how in the hell is this what we are focusing on? But if anybody will want to look up the Taylor Swift bill in Minnesota, give that office a call and tell them how ridiculous that is. If you'd like to call my governor here in Wisconsin and tell him how ridiculous it is that he signed a bill to outlaw counterfeit lighters, you can take care of that one too if you'd like. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh,
that one took 16 years to get passed. I don't listen. You know what? This is why I can't run for Congress. This is why I cannot be in public office, because I have I don't have a filter, and I also don't have patience for the type of crap that I would have to deal with and see every day, and that kind of stuff. If I'm on the outside, I can say what I want. So that's the benefit there. Yeah, that's the stuff that takes precedence. It's what's most newsworthy. It's what's a clickbait, thing on TV. It's what's get the views and stuff like that in our stories. They don't. Although we have had our stuff on the news, we have been featured several times. That's few and far between from the ones where I've been told I'll put it through the newsroom and I never hear from them again. And that's a shame.
Yeah.
So because it's not a fun topic, right? Pediatric cancer is not a fun topic. It's not something that you want to hear when you're sitting around the dinner table, but at the same time, the realities behind it and the people that are not able to shut it off every single day, not able to change a channel, we need to be able to spread that message. We need to be able to get that word out there, and we need to be able to have people hear what we're saying so that they want to turn around and say, you know what, maybe the charity I want to support this year is this one, or maybe I just want to learn more about what I can do to help. What can I do in my community? What can I do in my state to make a difference? And we've had reach out like that before, and I hope to continue to get reach out like that, because that's what we want. We want that community involvement.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a lot of work. You guys do amazing work, though. I'm so happy to know you guys personally and be able to be like, oh my gosh, they raised another $25,000. Like, it's crazy. You guys do amazing things, and it's just you inspired us in your own way too, because like I saw your Christmas thing and I was like, yeah, Zeke, that's a great idea. We could do it like Tim or Curtis and his wife and Tim, all of them. We want to help like them. And so Zeke, when we spent all that time in the hospital watching your guys' videos, I think that also helped trigger those thoughts with Zeke and me to like start brainstorming. We're like, yeah, we want to do what they're doing, because they're really helping other people. And you guys have just been such a great support. It was like literally a no-brainer when we chose you guys to do the lemonade stand for and give you guys that money, because we knew you would do something amazing with it, and we were just happy to help you guys.
And we honestly, we appreciate it so much. And to hear that we inspire other people to do this work and to make a difference is, I think it's the only real payment that we could ever ask for, is that we've got it, aside from just making people smile and making people happy and passing along the mission of what JC left behind us, or behind for us, to be able to inspire others to do it is really kind of always been a goal. So that's amazing. And to have
And
you guys work,
absolutely did.
it's incredible. It really is. And we don't do it for the recognition, and we don't ever do it for the accolades, but it's nice to hear it. It's nice to hear people say it organically, honestly, that we're not fishing for it and saying, hey, did we do this? No, I would rather people say, hey, listen, you did this and it was really awesome and it made a difference. Just like everything that we try to do when it comes to Congress, I say, if I come up with something and it works here and passes, take it in your state, please. Copy and paste it and go and run with it. And if we can help, then that's what we want to do, because we're all part of this. We're all in the same fight here. And I don't feel like we're anything special of an organization, that we're doing something different that others can't do. But I feel like we've had a lot of good connections and a lot of good people that have come along to help us and push us along and give us that motivation and that inspiration. So, yeah, it's been incredible. And I appreciate you saying that. And I appreciate you guys helping us out. And, as we continue to move forward, obviously, if there's anything that we can do to help you guys out, aside from sharing things out, which I try to do, not great at, but sharing things to other people, then we're totally on board. And to be honest with you, it's easy to sweet talk Tim, by the way, to have him help other people.
Yeah. I can assume that.
Yeah, it's easy. So Tim, if you're listening, I'm sorry, but I just gave it away, man. It's easy to sweet talk you. And if, he's always wanting to help everybody, that's fine. That's what makes him a cool person, is it, he always wants to help everybody out. And I wish we could help the world do all of this stuff. But we're trying, and together with other organizations, we're definitely going to make a massive impact. And I'm excited to see where it goes from here.
Yeah, you guys are awesome. We hope to be as great as you. That's like, we just want to continue moving. You guys are awesome, and definitely an inspiration to us who are just starting out. Seeing you guys do it definitely helps inspire us to continue to do it and grow, because it's hard. It's not easy to run this kind of show here, and you guys just keep adding more things. I'm like, more to you, because you just keep, the podcast, that's a lot. And then you're actually sending up the, packages and running the galas and doing you guys are amazing, and it's awesome to watch. And even better that, we get to know you guys on different levels than just watching you on social media, like how it started. So
right.
It's great.
We put a lot of irons in the fire, and this year was one of those years where we just kind of threw it all in and decided we're going to burn the candle at both ends and come up with as many ideas as we can. And the reality of it is to see which ones stick, which ones do well, and which ones we can carry on in the future. But it's a lot. But I just feel like, and I just started writing with my wife. We're writing an ambassador program for Battle Corn now, where we can have other people, other kids. We want to have a lot of kids that want to help from other states and come in and help do work for us and spread, it around. And that's another thing that we've talked about for years, and decided now is the time to really start writing it and getting it put together. And it's a lot of work. It really is. But it's, at the end of the day, if you're passionate about something like this, then it doesn't seem like work. It seems like it's something that you want to get up every day and do. It's definitely stressful, and it's not for everybody. Running a nonprofit is not easy, and honestly, I wouldn't recommend it for a lot of people. I really wouldn't. It's a lot of work, and it's a lot of work for no monetary return. You get a lot of good return in the way it makes you feel and the way it makes other people feel and the things you can do. But we don't take a salary from this. We don't make any money off of this. It all goes back into the business. I truly feel like people that take salaries as running nonprofits, I think it rubs me the wrong way. It really does.
Absolutely.
I cannot get past that, and so it's a labor of love. It really is. And it's something that we love to do. And if we're going to be here until we're not needed anymore. So we want to be told that we don't need you guys anymore because we've cured this beast. We've made it better. These kids are living, these kids are surviving. Then we're not needed anymore. And that's okay. I always say we are the antithesis of a business. We want to go out of business one day.
Exactly. Yeah. We don't want to be doing this for sure. But
yeah, but that'll be the hope. But it was, if you have any other advice to parents or, things like that going through this, or, kind of final words, if you'd like to pass something along, some hints of knowledge.
I just go with it. At least I try. I mean, you can't fight it. You just got to do it and hope for the best, pray for the best, and just do what you can. And yeah, I'm not a big word person, so I keep it pretty simple. So yeah, just go with it,
Absolutely. And I'm sure you've heard, right? I'm sure you've heard people say, I don't know how you do it. I don't know how you do it every day. Well, the real answer is, from the pediatric cancer world, from parents, is we were not given a choice.
100%.
So that's it in a nutshell. We were not given a choice, and we do it because we have to. We do it because that's what we're supposed to do as parents, is take care of our kids. And when we can't protect them from something like this, we're damn sure going to fight right alongside of them. So that's the answer. There's no greater, deeper feeling on it. It's we were not given a choice. We woke up on Monday and we're not cancer parents, and on Tuesday we were, and it's unfortunate. And we all face this world a little bit differently, and we're all given different challenges, but we're we're one way or another, we're gonna come out on the other side. So that's my advice for the end of it. And you want the explanation?
Yeah.
Stop asking. Just that's what it is. So it was fantastic to be able to talk to you today, and I appreciate you coming on here and sharing your story, talking about Zeke. And if you don't follow them, so it's foreverinamoment.com or .org. You can also find them on Facebook, and you can see the possum for yourself. Okay, it's right out there. It is incredible, and it's the smile that always does it with these kids. It's the forever smile that they have, and that fantastic attitude. So definitely be a part of it, and look them up, and do what you can to help, and what you can to share the story and donate, and keep the mission going. So I appreciate you coming on today. I had a lot of fun talking. It's definitely, it's a therapeutic thing, but it's nice to be able to share the stories, to see that there's a lot of different angles to everybody's story. We're not all the same, but we also, a lot of things mirror what we go through. And I hope that more people can just listen to this and catch up on what we're doing and what you're doing, and jump in and help.
Yes, exactly. Because we need the help. Honestly, we do. All of us.
We do. And the help doesn't stop. Everybody, the help doesn't stop when either the child passes away or they ring the bell. Okay. The help goes on forever. If anything, we need the support more so after. Okay.
Yes.
More so after. Just so you all know. And we're never going to get into a new normal. Just so you understand. Okay. We don't go back. We don't go back. This is where we are now. So I appreciate it. Thank you so much for coming on and hanging out with me today.
It was fantastic. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And we will see you all next week.